Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a nice little impromptu cast. This isn't an episode. This is just like an end credit scene.
This is like Sony. Why didn't you announce this yesterday? So we could have talked about it on the newscast.
Yeah.
But instead, we're talking about it before we review Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald.
But when they listen to this, it'll actually be after that. So hopefully go check out that review and
Hopefully go check it out.
hopefully go check out that review. Also see the movie.
Support
first.
all our content.
Yeah, just listen. Anything and everything we put out, just listen to it and give us a like, a rate, a subscription, the whole deal. We put out great content.
And then tell your friends, your aunt, your nephew.
An aunt, like an actual aunt though, like not.
Yeah.
Oh! Still recording though, so you know what? That's gonna definitely keep it in the bloopers. That's the second time.
That is a fallen phone. I don't think your phone's ever tumbled from the tripod before. Is that a first? Luckily, there's like a nice phone pads there right on the ground. This is a perfect.
No, it's happened. It's still recording. Great content for listeners that aren't on the camera. The camera just literally.
That's a really immersive experience for the viewers on YouTube. Right?
Oh yeah, someone just like Experion or whatever they say to flip the wands.
Expelliarmor.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about, we're going to do just a quick little 15-20 minute cast to talk about Sony and not do any E3 because next week we're just doing a bunch of reviews, and then a week after that it's Game Awards and it's Smash, so there might not actually be a newscast.
It
might be a while.
Although we've said that a lot in the last few months, and then we end up pumping out a quick impromptu. But who knows when the next one will be? So
I know the next one. Apparently, Infinity War trailer is supposed to drop at any moment. People have been saying. So I'm with Wreck-It Ralph coming out next week. But you know it's not coming out.
You can't get us off your feed. We'll be there.
Hardest working non-paid podcasters in the world, or non-job, I'd say. This is not our career, and I say there's nobody.
It's not that's our goal is to not we would like to do it at a full time rate.
Not even just selfishness, just there's so many casts we want to talk about. But we should get into this because we would be like, see,
we're waiting for Jessica to get here. We're trying to do this before she gets here.
Yeah, so that's a little behind the fourth wall. So
behind the fourth wall.
Oh yeah.
You mean through the fourth wall?
That's what both of them. You went before. Anyway, so today,
Sony.
You've heard the news. They announced that they are skipping 2019 E3. This is hot off the heels of a couple months ago. They also announced that they usually do PSX. I think they do in December in 2018. So they're skipping that this year, and then they're skipping E3 2019. So unless they announce anything, figuratively or potentially the next time we get a conference from them is literally like a year from now with PSX 2019. So what are your initial thoughts about this?
Well, my initial thoughts as a PS4 owner is disappointment, obviously, right? Because what this says to me, I mean, if you look at what they've done the last couple of years with like the at least with the E3 conferences, like
when we started.
Yeah, 2 years ago, it was fantastic. It was probably the greatest conference I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Just like really nice production, moved at a really good pace, and it was just games. Check it out, amazing, fantastic games. Yeah, big announcements. And then the last E3 wasn't as exciting, right? They just focused on 4 games. But we knew that beforehand, and they kind of did like this interactive experience where there's people moving room to room.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got the vibe from, obviously that conference 2 years ago was fantastic, and it was enough for me to just buy a PS4, boom.
3 years ago, by the way.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
2 years ago they had one that was like really good, but there was not too many announcements.
Yeah,
and this year was the like, we're talking about 4 games, here's our band, here's the ukulele guy.
So yeah, since it was 3 years ago, thank you.
Yeah.
Since then it's kind of been like, it's been downhill, but not in like a super negative way.
Not a nosedive.
Yeah, but the one that just most recently wasn't all that exciting for me personally, and so to hear that they're just going straight to nothing is I mean, it brings up a few questions, but I think for me, I was kind of feeling like last year after they just did that like kind of immersive experience thing with four games. I felt like they were getting a little bit cocky. That's the vibe I was getting with. They're
talked a bit about
way
this.
ahead, talked about this recently, but they're way ahead of Xbox in terms of sales, in terms of like general intrigue.
The sales, or they sell Xbox 5 to 1. So for every 5 PS4s that sell, 1 Xbox sells.
And that's big for your main competitor.
It's quite a bit, yeah.
And obviously, just generally like people talking about games, like what's happening, what's new. It's people talking about like the new PlayStation games. So that's the thing, right? And so I don't know. I kind of felt like last year maybe they were a bit cocky. Like we're doing good. We can just do this display and we'll still be on top, which is true. But I guess in hindsight, the reason they only did those 4 games and went with that more that experience to make the presentation longer was maybe because they don't have anything else to show for PS4. And so obviously that's kind of disappointing for me because what this says to me is, I mean, maybe there's some things that they don't want to come back at E3, but I think it's more like, okay, we have nothing else really for this console at this point, like in terms of big new games, and obviously that's what they're showing at all these conferences. They're just showing big games. They're not showing little things like obviously Xbox has like their little indie section, or Nintendo does as well.
They're not even showing Days Gone.
Yeah, they're not even showing Days Gone. I mean, that will be out by the time E3 is.
But I mean, this previous one, they didn't even mention anything.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
They didn't even have like a quick 5-minute reel. Like, here's some other independent or like things we have. Days Gone.
So yeah, this to me is essentially confirmation that Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima are not going to be on PS4. Those are going to be on the new console, and when they show that, their next conference, I'm guessing 2 years from now, will be, hey, here's our new console, check it out, and here's 2 fucking amazing games that you can play on release or within a couple months of release.
Yeah.
To just be a step ahead in the next generation, which
and
is
Last of Us as well. That's also
right,
still,
and Last of Us. So that's obviously that's a good strategy, but this obviously opens up an opportunity for Xbox to sneak in and I mean, Xbox really has to kill it this year.
Or just another developer, because that's 2 hours. Two things.
Well, yeah,
one,
that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
I think Bethesda's gonna have a pretty spicy year between showing off Starfield and like boom. This I'm guessing that they're gonna be like, here's Starfield. It comes out in November.
Really?
I think because that's what they did with Fallout 4, and I think people really liked that and it worked. And so
you think Starfield before Elder Scrolls?
Oh, 100%. They already confirmed that.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Starfield is been in development for like 3 or 4 years there or something. Okay. And so and Elder Scrolls, they just started that announcement that they had at the last conference was like literally just, hey, we have started to think about working on the game essentially. Yeah. So yeah, I'm guessing Starfield, and then also whatever Arcane's been working on, the people from Dishonored, they're gonna have their new game to show. I'm pretty sure.
Do you think it would be ready or just a tease at this point for Arcane? I would say a tease because Dishonored 2 came out 2016, right?
Well, so I don't know the exact timeline. I want to say 2015, but then they had like that spin-off game, Death of the Outsider, and that came out more recently. But once again, that was a thing where it was built off of Dishonored 2's engine, and it was a smaller. Yeah. And it was like it wasn't like a full price game. It was kind of more just like a side story.
Came out September 15th, 2017.
Okay.
So because what if let's say
I don't know if it'll be like gameplay or something, but I mean I guess that's maybe a little bit biased because I'm just a big fan of that studio. But I think
get a tease. Like, I don't know if you'll get the game like, oh, it's coming this November, because I feel like didn't one Dishonored launch in like a March or something at one point? Because I could feel that where they kind of show a big showcase of it, but it's not a fall 2019. Right. It's an early 2020 game. That's what I could see. So, and they could always do what's Digital Devolver. They could have a 2-hour conference. Well, the other thing is because for us, we've never been on E3, but from like pundits I listen to, the biggest thing that they've said as well is PlayStation takes up a ton of floor space as well. So just when you're walking around, demos, stuff like that. So the fact that they're not going to be there, that just opens up crazy. Whether that's Xbox, whether that's who knows. Nintendo is like, we talk about people missing E3. I'm not sure. Did they only miss 1 year? Or did they go 2 years at one point?
I think it was 1. Yeah. But then there was like that E3 with like the puppets and shit.
Yeah. And they've never gone back on stage either, right?
That's now they just do. They have a direct that's ready to go and they drop it within that E3 week.
Yeah. So what I think Dylan's right as far as the cockiness, but I think the good thing is I think they've seen that they can fall. That happened with PS3 where they came out, they charged a lot. They said they laid down the law. The exact same thing that happened with Microsoft where it bit them in the butt and sales turned around. And I think they are cocky, but I don't think they're cocky to the point where they're going to drop the ball again.
No, I think that's what I was saying is that I initially thought it was cockiness, but now that they're not doing a show, it makes me think that they really just don't have much else to show for PS4 because their style is different than the other developers in that they're just going to show big games, big unique exclusives. That's what they do at their E3 shows. And so what are they going to show this year? Like they don't have anything other, like obviously they have like Spelunky 2. I'm very excited for that. Yeah. But that's not something that they show on their main stage. No. They just show big exclusives, and by this time they're obviously with Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima, we have to assume that those things are not going to be on PS4 at this point.
Well, some people have thrown the idea of what if they're cross-platform, what if they're kind of because I think out of those 3, Last of Us, Ghost, and Death Stranding, I think one of them will be PS4. I don't know if all of them, but I think one.
I don't know. I think
my money's on Ghost.
The reason why I don't think that's the case is because they don't really need to do that, right? Like PS4 is already sold as much as they really needed to. Like it's already
it's
outstanding.
a success. Yeah,
And like everyone already has one, so they don't need to sell anymore. I think they're just like prepping for the next phase because
Really?
I think this is different than a Breath of the Wild situation where it was on the Wii U and the Switch, because the Wii U like it flunked essentially, right? So the Switch, it was a big release game for the Switch because not a lot of people had the Wii U, so it was like, here's a reason to get the console on release. That's not really the same with PS4.
The only reason I suggest is the last big exclusive to come out for PS3 was Last of Us, and it was like this big swan song game. And then the second the PS4 came out, months later, they did whatever.
Yeah.
And I could see one of those games being that. I don't think Last of Us, because I think Last of Us is too big of a franchise for them. But Ghost, I could see this being like, here's your final PS4 game. They just dropped the announcement, because I don't think Days Gone justifies like this is the swan song.
Well, that's the thing, right? I feel like at this point, I mean, we don't know what the game is like. It's not out yet, but it's the only game of all these things that they showed at the conference from 3 years ago that has like a lot of question marks on it. Whereas everything else that's released since then, Detroit, Horizon, God of War, Spider-Man, like all these things are pretty big successes. I mean, Detroit's probably like a step down, but it's still...
It sold very well. No, Detroit sold really well for them. And all of them have been at least, it's coming out this time and it's happening. Days Gone's the only one that's, I think this was the second delay now of, it's coming out, no, we need some more time, yada, yada.
Do you think now maybe like some of these delays are due to them wanting to space out like their final exclusives for the end of the console's lifespan? Because if they released it, like obviously this year we already had God of War and Spider-Man, which are huge, and they had to have known they were going to be huge. Obviously Spider-Man's a massive character.
As long as
God of War
as long as they're
coming back to the series. So I don't know. Maybe this was a choice from Sony to delay Days Gone. I don't know if that's the case. It's hard to say. I think that stuff will be more determinable when it's closer to the actual game coming out, and when the game is out, when we see like, okay, maybe there's some issues in here, maybe this game doesn't feel like it was ready, or maybe it wasn't like reaching their vision that they originally had.
But see, that's why I just don't think they'll make it the last one, because I think they want the last one to leave a good taste in people's mouth. I don't think they want the last PS4 game to be Days Gone, which is kind of ho-hum. We're assuming it's that. Maybe hopefully it comes out, it's great and people are talking about it, but if it's not that, I think they still want to end on a high note, because you don't want to end on, they just kind of jumped to PS5 and left us hanging for 2 years, because even though the year's almost over, it'd be 2018. Well, I can't say that though, because 2019 is when they had a 2018 conference, so we can't say they left us hanging this year. They told us. I think it's more that they could have done it. I think they like controlling the narrative, and the thing is, I liked that conference more than other people, but I understood all the problems with the performances and the awkwardness of the room switching. I think they could easily do, if that would have hit at the ballpark, I think they would have done another one, but I think as the reception was like, this kind of feels like they have nothing, I think they'd rather just not be there and not get negative, like, Sony's just showing the same stuff, instead of, let's just not be there, and everyone's going to talk about them still not being there when we roll around E3. They're going to be on every article, and then whether it's PSX or whether it's like, hey, in September, October, we're doing our own PlayStation, whatever, they get all the press. And because this is the question I'm going to ask you, because Kyle was calling me on the chat, but I feel in 5 years at E3, I don't think it will be away, but I think it's going to be much smaller, because last week or 2 weeks ago, Xbox, they tried their own thing. We've seen Nintendo do this. If PlayStation does their own thing, I equate it the same way as like Disney sometimes goes to Comic-Con, right? Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. They don't really need them anymore, and that's where I don't think PlayStation needs E3 to kick off the PS5 to be big. I think E3 needs them more than they do, because with the momentum PlayStation has right now, they could drop, we're doing a press conference next week and we're going to be doing a live stream, we're going to do a show, and they know that it'll get coverage. They don't need it's like Rockstar. They don't now.
Well, that's the thing. E3 has changed. Obviously, they changed it from strictly a press event to now it's more in the vein of a convention, which a
presentation or
and there's a lot of conventions like these days. Really, it seems like there's a lot of different places where you can go and play all these new games.
QuakeCon. There's a con for everything nowadays.
There's an endless amount, and so I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, like Sony's obviously goal at E3 is to get the word out on what's happening with their new console, but maybe they don't feel that's the place to do that anymore.
Yeah.
However, I still think it's really important. I mean, less so, or not less so really, but since it's not just pressing where there's a lot of just video game fans and players there now, I still think it's important to have that opportunity for people to just go and try your games out, try your demos that you have on the show floor, talk with the developers. I think that stuff's important. And
true, yeah.
I mean, the thing, like maybe they'll do their own weekend where they, have games off
Well,
for
the
people
thing
to
is,
play. I'm not sure.
With both the Xbox One and the PS4, they were announced at E3, but both of those consoles were revealed at their own separate events. Xbox did one, PlayStation did one, so it's not too common that they'll let people get their hands on the new consoles. And that's the thing, if you kind of look at the timing of it, they could do a reverse where next year PSX is in December. They could do a, hey, the PS5 is coming and then E3 make that the big roll like the next year, but I'm not sure. I guess that would confirm. Like, I'm thinking now it does look like the PS5 is going to be 2020, because the only way I'd say not is that would mean in the next few months I think they would say, hey, we're doing our own show, but that would make no sense if they canceled PSX in December. Like, the timing doesn't add up to me, so I really think that 2020 or PSX 19, like, they're going to start gearing up for the console, and that now it does look like 2020, and I think we'll get... Like I said, my prediction is one of those 3 games will be the last PS4, and then the other ones I wonder if they're cross-platform or not. I don't know, because there was rumors this week that Death Stranding was a 2019 game, and maybe that's your last one. Like, that's a big way to go out. Like, hey, Kojima's game, this is the last one for PS4. We'll port it over to the PS5 eventually, and they have Kojima. Like, they've said for one game, but I think they're going to be working together for a while.
Likely. Yeah, I think they probably give him every resource he needs.
Yeah, and I think in this game, as long as we don't know what it's going to play like, but as long as it's a hit, that could be a new franchise for them, so they don't got to worry about, oh, this won't be on the PS5. They'll make the sequel on the PS5,
yeah, exactly.
You know? Like, and I think the other thing is they want to try to replicate. That's going to be a new trash word. They want to replicate that conference 3 years ago, and I think that's a good way of... Maybe there is some new IP they could show, but it's really early on in E3. Let's just say it's a new Batman game, right? And they could show it, but it's early on, it's not coming out for years. Let's wait until that one E3 where I always said that was the problem with the conferences after, they couldn't show anything new because they laid out their next 3 years. And I think maybe that's what they're going to do is, we could show something little, but let's wait till 2019, or no, 2020. Let's wait till that E3 or the year of that console whenever it releases, and let's just have a conference where it's like, okay, this is Death Stranding's release date, this is Ghost release date, this Last of Us release date, and here's Spider-Man 2 announcement, here's easily Horizon Dawn.
2 is happening.
Exactly, like all of these, I think that's what's going to happen. The next time we see them, whether it's E3 or PSX, they're just going to have this murderous roll, the same thing they did at E3. Yeah. The thing is, that's kind of the expectation I feel now. If they've skipped 2 conferences now, people are going to be expecting.
Well, and the thing is, like, obviously, as a PS4 owner, it's disappointing they're not doing anything. But I feel like Sony's their vision on really just all of their releases, like their public appearance, is much more proactive. Whereas it seems like Xbox is, or Microsoft, I should say, is reactive, right? Yeah. Like, they're kind of just changing things, like, oh, these were our problems last year, we're going to fix that this year. Last year, no, we didn't have enough games. Check out all our new games, right? So, whereas PlayStation's just on their own level, and obviously it's working because, well, one, they just have a lot of games to show, and that's what people care about at the end of the day, is like cool new games. But, I think that's a big difference between them. So, I have faith in whatever their plan is here, why they're pulling from E3, is, it's probably to do that same thing that they did with PS4, which worked so well for them, was, they're just going to roll out five or six games, and then maybe even like a couple smaller that are still like big games within there, and just roll like a sick conference, the next, 5 out of 5 E3 conference, everyone's going to be talking about this thing, everyone's going to want to go out and buy a PS5 immediately. Well, that's I feel like, there's probably a good chance that that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and especially because we've talked about like Xbox acquiring all these studios. We won't know how far along they are because we don't get to know, are these studios, have this been in months they've been together, or is this just a recent thing? So that's the thing, if they don't have a great line off right off the bat like they do, they could easily kind of lose that shift again, right? Of like the unveiling of whatever the new Xbox is, new PlayStation, but it's like, all these 3 games, Horizon Dawn, a Spider-Man 2, like this is the title, a new IP, things like that. And it's just like Xbox, if those games are rated by those studios, it's like, well, we have, like Gears 5, we got this, like...
Yeah, they need to switch it up, because that's the thing with Xbox, is they just have so many shooters, and that's their thing.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but there's a lot of people who have moved, like, obviously shooters are still very popular, but I don't think they're quite as popular as they used to be. I know, like, and anecdotally at least, a lot of my friends and me personally, like, that was, a phase. I played a lot of shooters, but now I'm not really anymore. I moved on to other things and PlayStation has that because they have a lot of variety in the types of games they have as well, and that's really important. But I'm super curious now what Xbox does at this conference because
I think they do the same conference they do every year, because every year I'm getting excited to be like, oh, this year they're gonna kill it, and I think they always come out and it's like when we talk about the Star Wars or Disney movies that are just fine, it's like they check all the boxes but they never go the extra mile. It's like, yeah, they present that well, yeah, it was fun. Like for me, I've not been blown away from Xbox for a while. And it's the same thing. I don't know if they want to blow people away to sell the One, right? Or the One X because they want to wait for their...
That's the thing, right? Like, what is their goal at this point? Are
this
they
E3
are they trying to scrap up the last year and a half, whatever it is, of this generation?
This E3 could be kind of lackluster now. If like Xbox, same thing, is kind of holding back some cards.
I'm fucking stoked for Bethesda.
Oh yeah.
And now as a Switch owner, I'm
EA.
super excited for Nintendo. So I don't think I'll be disappointed.
No, I just mean the overall like... Usually it's like, well, we got this day, we got this day. Now
taking away Sony is huge, right? That's one of the big three, and so to take them out of there is just it hurts as a gaming fan. Every year we get so excited to watch E3. E3 is the initial reason why we decided to start this podcast. So it's huge for us, and so to have like one of the big players just absent by choice it's gonna be strange.
And the thing is too, you and I have said, and everybody, like I've seen most people say, like, oh, Xbox needs to go out there and kill it. They don't actually have to though, because there's no PlayStation there. They can go and put a good conference out, and people be like, that was great because this is all we got for like the big...
It was the best.
Yeah, it was the best.
Well, honestly, I do feel like Bethesda's locked and loaded to actually like overshadow Xbox at this particular conference. I think Starfield is gonna be fucking massive, and I'm pretty certain we're gonna see gameplay and probably a release date.
I hope so.
At this E3, that's what I'm feeling.
And I don't think Xbox is gonna be talking about any big IP that they have coming out, because that's not Anthem, right?
It's also coming to PS4.
Yeah, it's also coming to PS4. That's what it will be. It'll be like we got the new Star Wars game, but it's like everybody. So the last thing I'll say, because we got a few more minutes, is what do you think this says about like I talked about a bit, but the potential future of E3 with like first time in 24 years PlayStation not doing it. We've seen Nintendo. Like I said, for me, there's a chance when we've seen even stuff like, look at what Disney's doing with Netflix right now. They're taking all their stuff back. They're taking we're seeing people cut out that middleman. And I think like with E3, like I said, maybe 5 years was too short. I should do that in group chat, but 5 to 10 years, E3 is going to look very different. I think it could be a lot smaller where places like Bethesda, but even then, what stops Bethesda one time to be like, hey, we're just going to do a Bethesda showcase January, whatever.
When they're big enough, they'll do that.
Well, and they're starting to get to that way,
And they are, as they acquire more and more developers and different companies. Like, they are becoming, financially stable enough that they could just do that and have enough popularity.
And that, to me, is a scary thing, which, no offense if you like these studios, but if an E3 is just like an EA, a Ubisoft, and a Digital Devolver, it's like, it's not going to have the...
No, it's not going to have the same allure anymore, that's for sure.
It's going to be stuff that we would still watch and cover, but it's not going to be like that event weekend anymore. And I feel like I think it's going to be like that. It's the same way Comic-Con has kind of trickled down, where it always used to be, that's where you get all your comic book news, this and that, but now Disney, same thing. We'll do D23, we'll do our own. We get all our money, we don't have to deal with you, we can have our own stage, and it's the same thing with X. Like, Sony, we'll have to see in 2020, but there's a chance I could say, yeah, we don't need to do E3. We're just going to do our own show. And I agree with you. I don't think they would do that because E3 is still the heart of the gamer in a way of like those hype moments. But if this is them kind of like trying to train their audience to be like, hey, we're not always going to be at E3, I could see people following that suit. Maybe that's where Xbox becomes hero, right? Maybe they stick at E3 and they're like, we're the, the fans, console. But I don't think it's going to stay like this. I really don't think it's going to be this event weekend in 5 years. I think it's going to change. Or you'll see a lot of more indie developers.
I mean, that's the, ebb and flow of time. Time destroys all. So eventually, E3, I mean, that's just how it goes, right? Things are going to evolve, things are going to change, and it's bittersweet if that is the case, and like what if like last year's was the last time Sony is at E3?
It could
right?
be.
It is possible.
If they come out the PS5,
like Nintendo's already kind of like halfway up the toe.
Yeah.
Just like keeping one toe in there just in case they want to play.
Yeah, and PlayStation 5, let's say it comes, it kicks off, they don't do an E3 for it, they'll go, why do we need to do this? Why do we need the hassle? I don't know how much of a hassle it is, but it's just something that I think it could happen. I think we're seeing, like you said, Nintendo's already like tinkered with it. Now this is huge. Like I didn't know that record, 24 years, and that's crazy.
Yeah, that is I mean, it's unheard of, really, for this type of.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have to. I'm almost. I am excited to see what the E3 like organization. I don't know who does it, what they do, but I'm excited what they do with that Monday.
He's behind it.
Oh yeah, we're going some Disney. I'm excited to see what happens with that Monday 2 hours. Does it just become defunct? Do they spice it up with a lot of people? Do they say, hey, that's what I mean? Will we see a lot more independent developers? Maybe they'll just be. I know Digital Evolver's kind of like that, but maybe a more serious independent one of like. Hey, we're gonna have a bunch of independent games. Come talk about it. PC gaming show could get larger, things like that. Maybe Xbox starts doing 3 hours instead of 2. Ubisoft already does 8-hour conferences, so I'm sure they'll do a 16-hour. But that's what I'm excited too, is just see how they respond to it. Do they do like sometimes we've seen after EA when they've done like, oh, there's gonna be an hour of like a. 2 esports team playing Star Wars Battlefront. Is that going to be more, or E3 will be more like these events? Maybe they'll do like esports there to get like keep crowds and stuff.
I mean that's a potential route. I mean, esports is growing like crazy,
and that'd be a smart way. How do you? Because that could be a way you can transition E3 if like it used to be, and it could always be a way where you show games, but they could make that like a Super Bowl like WrestleMania type event where we're gonna have a bunch of big matches, a bunch of big games, whatever being played there. Because if it's like, let's say Sony drops out and then Xbox drops out in like 3 years, that's like 4 to 6 hours of times that either they can just die, but you have to adapt. And I think the esports way is a good. I'm not the huge esports fan, but I think that'd be a smart way to do it. Like make E3 esports like they're ready to go. The marketing, the branding, I can see the logos.
They could also just straight up shorten E3 because it already goes on like 5 or 6 days.
Well, this is the thing though. Why I don't know. They could just stop it, but the thing is. This last year was the first year they let fans in. And to me with press, it's like, okay, the press don't go home write their articles. But if they wanted to make this more of an event, and now these big companies are on, it's like, that's my thinking of the esports, like, well, how do we keep people coming in? And some people have said that's why they brought these fans in, was to kind of prepare for this in the future. Like, if these people go away, they can gain some money.
Obviously there's a reason they made that change.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking of, other than esports, I don't know what would have, like, esports, some smaller developers, I don't know what would be the next big thing to get people in, So that's your Travis told you so prediction. If you see people go away, I think esports could take a handle because it's getting bigger,
Do it, esports.
So do you have anything else to say on that?
I think not.
No. It's a good conversation. I think when we do our next newscast, we'll get like everyone else's opinions as well, because this is like
I can't wait to hear Taylor just go off on.
Oh my god.
The sellouts or something. I don't even know.
Oh yeah, but no, because this is gonna be one of those topics that's gonna be like the James Gunn one. It's gonna be evolving. It's gonna be stuff's gonna be coming out about it, and and I'm hoping this points to PS5 being 2020, because I'd be excited not to drop another $500 to $600 right now.
I'm not ready for that.
No, I'm ready. I'm good to wait till fall 2020. Perfectly fine. Let me play Red Dead. Let me play God of War. Let me catch up on some stuff. So, well, you can find the links below for everything we do. Please subscribe, rate, review, like. Go to Facebook and Twitter. Find all our stuff. We got reviews out the yin yang this week. These next 7 days, if you like reviews, you're gonna like us.
Yeah. And you do like reviews. Because who doesn't like reviews? Especially a GV review.
I think if people make a bad movie, like a movie we're maybe going to talk about later, and then they're like, people have to see this movie, and they got to talk about it. So maybe find out what that movie is. Until next time, I'm not boring.
Bye-bye. Just realized I have this coat that says Sam on it.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's my cat. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's your cat?
Yeah, my cat, Sammy.